my dear friends, my family, my subscribers. Gord here, your hurtin' hippie. Sorry, eyes are all stuck together. It's a tough day. With Weedy Weekend 96, brought to you here on the most special of days, Mother's Day. And that is the reason my eyes are all puffy and my day is hard. My mother, bless her soul, passed away 2.5 years ago. And Mother's Day has become a very difficult day for me. I still celebrate motherhood more than I ever have. And I wish all of you mothers a beautiful Mother's Day. I wish all of you who have mothers that you've been able to connect and beautifully hug them and give them respect for the work that they've done for you. I haven't had that ability anymore, but I have 2 daughters who are wonderful mothers, so I pass on to them the joy of this day and I celebrate their motherhood. Let us move on with Weedy Weekend, where I bring you the stories that you've brought me. I share it more with the community so that we can all be on the same page with information. Maybe not opinion, but with information. The more we spread the information, the more we tend to believe the same things and disbelieve the same things. Not that I promote a vanilla kind of world. I promote good information and separate and not pressured decision making. All I try to do is bring you information. I even give you my opinion, but I don't necessarily expect or even want others to adopt it. I just want you to hear it. There has been some neat changes. It's been 2 weeks since I brought you Weedy Weekend. This first story is a really nice one that came out about a week and a half ago about how a certain union in Ontario, no, sorry, I'm one story back. This is the Workers' Compensation Board Conference in Prince Edward Island. Our Easterners have gotten together and they, with them, brought a lawyer who knows all about the rules around workers and their medication. The main theme of this story is there is a duty to accommodate, and that's what I'm going to read now. Rudner, the lawyer, said many employers he's spoken with aren't informed about medical marijuana and their responsibility to accommodate. Often when I tell employers they have to accommodate medical marijuana, their eyes widen. And they envision, basically people smoking up in their lunchroom. It's very different than that. He explained that medical marijuana and other prescription medication fall within the definition of disability. So there is a duty to accommodate. He said employers can't just have a knee-jerk reaction and say no. He explained that accommodating an employee could simply mean adjusting their schedule, not necessarily letting them be high at work. This is a really good story, and I know a lot of you that have talked to me, and a lot of you that talked to me at the Cannabis Expos that I've been at. This is one of the major concerns, is testing within the workplace and accommodation of the fact that it's become a medicine. So if you test high in THC, doesn't necessarily mean that you're abusing something, you're medicating. And there's that necessity of our employers to learn more and to accommodate more and to understand more. This is a really good story that I asked you all to read. We will move on because I really like this next story. LIUNA Local 625, it's a union in Windsor, has announced the change to its plan Tuesday after 2 years of widespread consultation with pharmacy and cannabis suppliers in a bid to discourage opioid prescriptions and to give workers a healthier alternative to the highly addictive drugs, and Ontario Union is now offering medical cannabis through its benefit plan. Even though our government has not given its identification, drug identification number, DIN, have not given it a DIN yet. Here we are with grassroots doing what grassroots does. The union got together and said, look, a lot of us don't want to take opioids. We want to take marijuana and be able to continue working and not have an addiction. And the union has responded, ensuring their people, even though the insurance companies are not. This is how grassroots works. This is what forces the government into doing what it should have done. We've had a medical program in Canada since the 80s, and cannabis still doesn't have a drug identification number. Shame. Shame, 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 shame. So, hooray for LIUNA Local 625. I'm not a big guy into unions, but if unions are going to start becoming more of the voice of the people than the voice of the union, then I could maybe get a little behind it. Let's move on. I'm not going to get political. The next one is a really nice story. Shows a picture of a grandma smoking a bong, and it's just really nice. And it's 9 types of cancer that can be killed by cannabis and how. Now, I want to read this part, as I often do. I encourage you to read the whole story. I try to share some of it with you, but I'd like you to hear this. According to Cristina Sanchez, a molecular biologist from Complutense University in Madrid, Spain, who has been studying the molecular activity of cannabinoids for more than 10 years, tetrahydrocannabinol, or THC, the primary psychoactive component of cannabis, induces tumor cell suicide when leaving healthy cells alone. During a study where they researched brain cancer cells for the purpose of better understanding how they function, they noticed that when exposed to THC, tumoral cells not only ceased to multiply and proliferate, but destroyed themselves, both in lab tests and animal trials. Now, this goes on to say that THC, not CBD, not CBN, CBG, THCV, THC, is responsible for major breakthroughs in brain cancer, pancreatic cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, blood cancer, prostate cancer, oral cancer, colon cancer, and aiding in chemotherapy. Absolutely amazing. Some great reading here for people that you may know or you may be interested yourself. This is a really important thing. And the thing that I want to get out there, and sort of the theme in this one, is there's a huge push about CBD and its benefits. Let's not forget THC. THC, yes, everyone always says, oh, that's the one that gets you high. Well, yeah, because that's the one that works on the major pain, the major difficulties. That's the one that works really good. Although CBD works very good in epilepsy, they found that with THC missing, it doesn't work as well. Just some beautiful stuff that I think people need to realize, that cancer patients and high THC go together, and it can honestly save lives. And that's what we know now. Imagine 10 years from now, after all the studies that are going to be allowed once this moves into a new realm. The next one is cannabis reverses aging processes in the brain. I want to say that this one story proliferated a discussion in Google in which somebody who really was not on, had not really ever studied it, so had an opinion, but a very good follower of mine who believes that his opinion can change with proper data. And he made a thing about people dying with marijuana. So a few of us went to him very nicely and suggested that he learn more. This one study really turned him around to the benefits, to the medical side of cannabis. There are many of you out there, I may even be speaking to one or two of you right now, in which you don't truly believe that cannabis is medical. You believe that that's an out, a way that we can get around illegalities and get high by pretending it helps us. We wouldn't do that. We wouldn't get rid of our pharmaceuticals if it wasn't helping us. This cannabis reversing aging processes in the brain is absolutely incredible. I'm just going to read this first paragraph. Memory performance decreases with increasing age. Boy, do I know that. I'll stop editorializing. Cannabis can reverse these aging processes in the brain. This was shown in mice by scientists at the University of Bonn with their colleagues at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Old animals were able to regress to the state of 2-month-old mice with a prolonged low-dose treatment with a cannabis active ingredient. This opens up new options, for instance, when it comes to treating dementia. The results are now presented in the journal Nature Medicine. Yeah, Nature Medicine. This is a really good story. This story has prompted other stories that I may be reading today and that I may be reading in the future. There is some huge study coming out of Israel, and more they are not only finding the benefits, but they are suggesting and working on new methods to make them even better. We are at a turning point medically in society, and cannabis is steering. Let's move on. The next story, USA Today. Marijuana may be a miracle treatment for children with autism. Again, this study is coming out of Israel. There is huge work being done in Israel towards the medical benefits, and I love that. I love that. When Noah Schulman came home from school, her mother, Yael, I don't know how to say these words, sat her down to eat, then spoon-fed her mashed potatoes mixed with cannabis oil. Of course, she doesn't know, is she getting a placebo or is she getting true cannabis oil? This story just goes on to talk about how the study is being enabled, and it doesn't go on to say that there are benefits yet. It's early on in the study. It's something that I hope to watch and keep bringing to you. It's an interesting read. I know a lot of people with autistic children, some very close to me. If this can provide benefit in their lives and more connection with the real world in their lives, I'm for it. I have not seen it work, and I'm encouraged that it could. Cheers to Noah Schulman for realizing that her daughter needed this. Anyways, let's move on. The next one is one that angers me. It is our Prime Minister once again coming forward with legislation, his party coming forward with legislation tabling that saliva tests for impaired driving to indicate THC are good and should be used. I do not know where this legislation stands right now. If any of you can update me, that would be great. I've had a busy week trying to get ready to move. But this is absolutely ridiculous, and it's against our rights to take a test when you don't have an indication of impairment, to force us to give up our DNA when you don't even suspect impairment yet, is against our rules. But anyways, saliva tests. Police can already take roadside saliva samples to test for marijuana intoxication. But the legislation now links such tests with punishments as serious as a decade in jail. If the test is positive, a blood test may follow, and if certain levels of THC are detected therein, significant penalties can now be imposed. In the past, the saliva samples very rarely led to convictions. The problem? We're not good at accurately figuring out if people are high on marijuana or how high they might be. The saliva test can deliver a positive result based on marijuana that entered the system up to a month before the test. There is no way in hell anybody who knows anything, even a tiny bit, about smoking or eating cannabis, who's going to think that any THC that's been in your system since yesterday or the day before or a month ago has any indications on your ability to drive today. It's only if you've just smoked it. These highs only last for a couple hours, 6 to 8 if you've eaten it. And then the high isn't so high, it's body. It's a misunderstanding of impairment. Impairment has to be behavioral. We're not at any point where a blood test or a saliva test, any kind of breathalyzer, can indicate your intoxication. It only indicates that you have something in your system. I've had nothing in my system today, but I had a fair amount yesterday. And I would test, if I went driving right now, I would test highly impaired. And I have nothing in me. So we need to fight these. Tests should not be given until we have one that clearly indicates. I do believe that we do have some impairment when we've smoked. Some tests have shown that for the first 30 minutes after a joint or intoxication, you are a little bit all over the place, scatterbrained, and therefore you really shouldn't be behind the wheel. But beyond that, it shows that we're actually better drivers. So we need to relook at what impairment is. And with the advent of driverless cars, I'm pretty sure this will be a moot point in another 20 or 30 years, as it won't matter because the car will drive. You won't. Will our cars get high? Ha ha, cannabis oil. Anyways, we're nearing the end of my Weedy Weekend, where I give a couple educational pieces for you to share with other people or for yourself. The first being from Leafly's 101, and this is the benefits of cannabis vaporization. I've spoken to this a lot. There's a lot of you who know me, who maybe even watch some of this, but I don't think you do, but who don't understand that I so rarely smoke cannabis. I don't like it. It hurts my lungs. I was a smoker of 35 years. I quit 8 years ago. I don't like smoke in my lungs. Vaporization is so much different, so much calmer, so much clearer. And even vaping is something that I do so seldom of now too. I mostly take it internally. I ingest it. And I'm about to buy a bunch of suppositories again because they really provide pain relief. But again, the nature of this plant is changing, and we need to change with it. We need to move more along. I can't even count how many people at these conferences came to me, people my age or a little bit younger, saying, wow, has it changed? And when I was young, you put it in a pipe or you rolled it in a joint. And that's all you did with it. Yeah, maybe once in a while you stuck it between two knives and then you coughed your lungs out. That was the nature of it then. Now it's a medicine. It's a medicine. You find it in pill form. You find it in oil form. You can eat it in food so that it's masked the flavors and so that you get a longer and better experience away from your pain. This is a great story because it does that. I'm not reading any of this story. It just spawned my discussion. And the last story that and I love this, is how cannabis improves brain functions. I love this story. I love this story because I've said many times CBD is for the brain, THC is for the pain, but this is starting to show that THC, the very compound that makes you feel high, is actually responsible for the memory saving characteristics of cannabis. The study aimed to analyze how the brain is affected by aging, and the researchers tested the memory of rodents. This is a lot more to do with rodents. Again, 2-month-old rodents could make it through a maze like crazy. The 18-month-old rodents had a difficult time. But then when fed low doses of THC for a long period of time, those old rodents were acting all the way back to the 2-month age and remembering where they've been and where they're going and getting through the maze much better. Really interesting. Zimmer said he's also in the process of organizing a small-scale human study involving 100 human volunteers between the ages of 60 and 70 to see if there are similar results. I wonder if he'll use a similar maze. Anyways, what a great story. What a great future we have in this plant. And just in time for my aging process, that it could reverse it. I would love that. As I'm getting older, I have an eidetic memory. I have something. Back when I was working and my brain was working full force, I had this memory that people never, who worked around me, never memorized the phone number. They just told me the phone number. And then later, hey, Gord, what's that number? I just have that kind of memory. However, over the last decade of getting older and my body getting worse and stuff like that, and stress, whatever, my short-term memory is getting really, really bad. I still have incredible long-term memory, but my short-term is really falling apart. I'd love to see how I go about using the different elements of cannabis to improve that function. Definitely, since I've started my inroads into CBD management of my body, it has helped my focus. I'm not quite there yet because I really can't afford it quite yet. I would really like to up my CBD to 30 milligrams a day from 20. I just can't afford to do that. But I'll keep you informed as to how it goes, and you keep me informed down below. Let's keep talking. This usually spurs up some great conversation. That's Weedy Weekend 96. 4 more. I'm at 100. I'm looking forward to all of you enjoying this and your comments. And I'm looking forward to next week doing another one with you. Peace and cheers, friends. Love and harmony.